Hello, thank you for tuning in. My name's Stuart, Unrepentant Atheist, and here I am reacting to another video. Matt Dillahunty and Shannon Q this time on the line on the 4th of February. So we've got a very long call here. Dick called in. The call was well over an hour. It was something like 1 hour and 15 minutes. I think probably the longest call I've seen in ages and ages. And Dick was calling in. We're not going to do the whole call, don't worry. I'm only going to do the last 5 minutes, and I'm going to make a few general comments about what happened before the last 5 minutes. So Dick called in to present her evidence for the existence of God. Only Dick's evidence was not empirical evidence, and empirical evidence is what Matt Dillahunty was asking for. And Dick pointed out that Matt held positions for which he did not have empirical evidence. So Matt asked, well, which positions do I hold without empirical evidence? He said, well, do you accept that reality is real? And Matt said, yes, we can't find a solution to hard solipsism, but out of necessity, I do accept that reality is real. I need to do that in order to live my everyday life and survive. So we're not going to test that by walking across a busy road and getting hit by a bus. We're going to work on the basis that reality is real and proceed from there. And that is a necessary presupposition. So it doesn't require absolute proof. It can be a presupposition. It's a necessary presupposition. And Dick said, well, you accept that logic and reason is inviolable. Matt replied saying, well, he doesn't accept that it's inviolable, but he accepts that it works, and he admits he hasn't got an ultimate foundation for that, but it's another necessary presupposition. So yeah, so Dick then said that in the same way that Matt does not have to appeal to empirical evidence to make the presupposition that reality is real, and that logic is logical and reason is reasonable. In the same way that Matt can do that to make that presupposition, then Dick could effectively presuppose the existence of God because of intuition, because it seems to Dick that God does exist, and in the absence of any defeaters, she could accept that this is true. Now, Matt's response to that is that that reality is real as a presupposition, and that logic and reason work are necessary presuppositions in order to operate as an agent in reality and survive, etc., and to make some kind of sense of reality. Whereas God is not a necessary presupposition. One can actually live and survive and flourish without presupposing that there's a God. So this is the whole thing. They went back and forth for some time on this, and I can't understand why it went on so long, because really there wasn't too much more substance to it than that. So we're going to move on to the last 5 minutes or so of the conversation, just to see where it goes and see how it concludes, because it looks back to some of what they were talking about earlier in the conversation. Let's have a listen to it.
Get out of this is you keep circling back and saying, well, can you justify your belief that reality exists? And then we just go back to saying no, because it's a presupposition. And then we start down this entire road again. It's a big circle. It's like just a big frustrating merry-go-round.
Let me try this. Dick, thank you for calling. It was a fun and lively discussion for the last hour.
Yeah, sorry, I just need to say something. I did look up phenomenal conservatism, just to sort of, I've heard of it before. I just wanted to refresh my memory on it. So, I mean, basically, essentially, it says that if something seems to be true, it can be accepted as such in the absence of positive evidence against it or a defeater. And Matt said, I think quite rightly about this, seems is very subjective. So it can seem that it can seem that something is true to one person and yet not to another person. So there's very little sort of objectivity about it. It's very subjective. It's from one's own perspective. And if we're talking about establishing objective truth, and obviously the existence of God, if God exists, it will be an objective truth. But if we're talking about subjectivism, then this kind of epistemological tool is not really going to be very useful, because as Matt said, it would suddenly validate many unfalsifiable claims. Any claims which have not got defeaters suddenly can be accepted. That would allow in so many different gods, so many different claims, that it would essentially be useless. So I apologize. Let's just listen to the rest of the call.
Rather than ending on a bad note, let's just pause right here, because there are other callers who've been on hold this entire time waiting for us to get done, since we're circling. Call in another time if you'd like to present something more than I intuit God and I'm justified until you prove me wrong. If that's the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it amounts to. I can't understand what it's like. Shannon said, you know, they demolished his position really, and then he just kept coming back to the same old thing. Well, how can you justify what you presuppose? Why should I not presuppose God if you're going to presuppose reality, etc., etc.? They kept circling and circling, going back over that time and time again. There's no way this call should have gone on so long.
What you're going to be able to do is to say, I'm going to rely on phenomenal conservatism, and because I intuit God and I see philosophical arguments, I think I'm rationally justified.
I didn't say that.
Goodbye.
I didn't say that.
Never mind. I don't give a fuck if we end on good terms. Goodbye.
I use.
Goodbye, Dick.
Nope.
Yeah, that was funny. Let's end on good terms. And Matt very correctly summarized what he'd been saying. And he said, I didn't say that. Sorry. She didn't say that. I'm not going to remake this video. I accept I made a mistake on the pronouns. Matt did as well. I made a mistake. So yes, she did say that effectively. So that's the whole thing really about intuition. My mood dropped earlier in the call when she talked about intuition, because I don't put any weight on intuition at all. I don't think that intuition is useful. People use intuition and they count the hits, but they don't count the misses. And the hits seem a lot more relevant to them with intuition. They ignore the misses and they claim that intuition is actually useful when it's not. It's useless. So there was one thing I meant to include. There was one I wanted to include, the cogito, because Matt asked a very interesting question on Dick and said, because Dick said that he counted philosophical arguments, he counted as evidence, and Matt said it's not empirical evidence, and it's not evidence which is going to convince him that there is a God. So he disagreed with that. He said, well, no, for him, philosophical proofs are evidence. And Matt then asked a very good question. Apart from God, what else can we use philosophy to confirm the existence of? Now, I think this is a really good question, because I've always said that philosophy seems to be in particular useful not to atheists. It seems to be useful, or at least theists appeal to philosophy because they've got no empirical evidence for the existence of God, and they've got no real good grounds for believing in God. So they appeal to philosophy, and they appeal to these philosophical arguments like the ontological argument, the cosmological argument, etc., because really they've got nothing else. And I thought to myself many times, when it comes to proving the existence of something, what else do we use philosophy for? Really, it's just God, isn't it? What else is it? And Matt asked this question, and Dick said, well, Descartes, to prove the existence of the self, I think, therefore I am. Yeah, but with Descartes, I think, therefore I am, we've got more evidence than the philosophical argument, I think, therefore I am. We've got, obviously, I've got lots more evidence than the actual philosophical argument that I exist in some kind of way. I've got my body, I can touch it, etc. So I've got more data than just I've got empirical evidence to support the philosophical argument. In addition to that, I think from what I remember reading Descartes' Meditations, he was trying to establish a principle that we could construct a way of determining whether something is true or not in the same way that we can do mathematics. And I think that this like equation, I think therefore I am, was something like, to him, like a mathematical proof. In addition to that, I understand there are far more problems with the cogito, not least that it presupposes that there is an I. You start, I think therefore I am, really without defining the term I. Seems to me problematic, but that's getting into something else. I think I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to go around in circles, as indeed Shannon indicated the call did, for a long, long, long time. 1 hour, 25 minutes, I think it was, when really I think that it could have been done in much less time than that. I'm still trying to work out why it went on so long and what went wrong in the call. Matt said this has been fun, and he wanted to end on a good note. I don't agree with him. I don't think it was fun, but he wanted to end it on a positive note, and it just didn't happen, did it? Thank you very much, and I'll be back again very soon with another video. Bye for now.